Let's talk about fascism, the ultimate red flag of the 20th century. It basically ruined the vibe for everyone. When people hear the word, they think of death, concentration camps, and that one guy who really should have just stuck to painting mediocre landscapes. Adolf Hitler didn't just have a bad attitude, he caused about 85 million deaths. It's like if the entire population of California and Texas just vanished. No survivors, no sequels, just a giant, silent hole on the map. Looking at that number, you're probably thinking, wow, were people back then just really bad at noticing red flags? It's not like someone walks up to a crowd and says, "Hey guys, let's go commit some war crimes." Everyone just signs up because they liked the uniform and the simple answers. Hitler, Mussolini, and Franco didn't start with the scary stuff. They started with a vibe check. They didn't use logic. They injected a slow-acting poison into the hearts of normal people until they were all ready to ruin someone's life over a flag. I'm Crayon PhD, your unqualified explainer. I'm going to show you that becoming a fascist is actually the ultimate psychological shortcut. It's easier than trying to fix a broken system through boring, adult conversations. This all went down in 1967. Cubberley High School, Palo Alto, the place where people now pay $4 million for a house the size of a shipping container. A student asked the teacher, how could the Germans just sit there and support Hitler? Did they all just lose their main character status at the exact same time? These kids were convinced they were way too smart to ever fall for a guy with a bad haircut. Instead of giving them a boring lecture that would make them fall asleep faster than a 3-hour Marvel movie, Ron Jones decided to run a social experiment. He decided to turn his classroom into a mini-fascist state just to see if the kids would actually notice. Day 1. Discipline is power. Ron stopped being the cool teacher who lets you slide on late homework. He wrote, "Discipline is strength" on the board. It sounds like something a gym bro would post on Instagram with a no pain, no gain hashtag. He made them sit perfectly straight, feet flat on the floor, like they were waiting for their turn at the DMV, but without the soul-crushing despair. If they wanted to speak, they had to stand up and call him Mr. Jones. That's a lot of effort for a generation that communicates exclusively in SKKSKS and emojis. Ron thought he'd do this for one day, laugh about it, go back to teaching history, but the kids actually liked it. They felt organized, they felt focused, they felt like they finally had a personality that didn't involve just liking The Office. Day 2. Community is power. Ron realized he had a hit on his hands, so he upgraded the vibe. He called the movement the third wave, because apparently the first 2 waves were just mid. He told them that the third wave was superior. They were the main characters. Everyone else was just an extra in a bad movie. He added the slogan, "Strength through community." It's basically a fancy way of saying we are all in this together, but mostly because I told you to be. He even gave them a special salute. It was like a secret handshake, but for people who want to eventually take over the world, they had to salute each other in the halls. It's like seeing someone wearing the same niche band t-shirt as you, but with more fascist undertones. Ron gave everyone jobs. Some made banners, some were guards at the door. It was like a very intense school club that actually got stuff done. For the first time, the mid-students felt special. They weren't just losers in the back of the class anymore. They were members of a movement. Day 3. Action is power. This is where things went from weird class project to someone should probably call the principal. The class grew from 30 students to 43. Word was spreading faster than a TikTok of a cat falling off a table. Ron added strength through action. Thinking is hard. Doing whatever the leader says is super easy, barely an inconvenience. Students started volunteering to be spies. They'd report anyone who didn't salute or who dared to say the third wave was a bit cringe. They started ghosting their non-member friends. It was us versus them. If you weren't us, you were basically a loser. By the end of the day, 200 kids were in the movement. That's more people than actually show up to a high school PTA meeting. Day 4, the rally. Ron Jones was starting to get worried. He had created a monster, and it didn't even have a cool theme song. He decided to end it, but he had to do it, in style. He told them the third wave was a national movement. Their leader was going to speak on TV. He kicked out 3 students who dared to ask if this was actually real. The other kids hated them for it. Doubt is a red flag in a cult, apparently. That night, kids couldn't sleep. They were more hyped than a gamer on the night before a new Grand Theft Auto release. Day 5, the truth. 11:50 a.m., the climax of the show. Ron had friends pretend to be reporters. The kids were giving speeches about how the third wave changed their lives. It was like a weird, fascist TED Talk. Then they turned on the TV, and there was nothing, just static, like when your Wi-Fi dies in the middle of a Netflix binge. Ron stood up and said, "You thought you were better than the Germans in 1933. Surprise, you just became them." In 5 days, these enlightened American teenagers had turned into a mob, one that would follow a TV screen into a dumpster fire. The experiment proved that we aren't too smart for fascism. We're just one bad economy, one charismatic guy with a megaphone, away from losing our minds. The word fascist comes from fasces, Latin for a bundle of sticks. One stick is easy to break, but a bundle is strong. It's the ultimate power in numbers metaphor. Scholars say fascism isn't even a real ism like capitalism or socialism. Those involve debates and math. Fascism isn't a theory built on logic. It's an emotional contagion, less of an ism and more of a collective fever dream. It's like a fever that breaks out when a country is stressed, broke, and feels like its main character energy is being disrespected. It promises order and glory, usually by pointing at someone else and saying everything is their fault. Ron Jones didn't even use the most dangerous ingredient, a designated scapegoat. In the real world, you always need someone to hate to keep the group together. People don't want to hear about complex economic policies or why the supply chain is messy. They want a simple villain they can blame for their high grocery bills. And today, we have social media. Hitler had to build a whole radio network. Now, you can start a radical movement with one viral TikTok and a catchy hashtag. Algorithms don't care if you're becoming a fascist. They just want you to stay on the app for 5 more minutes. So, how do you spot it? Rule 1. Absolute worship of a leader. If someone says only I can fix it, that's a massive red flag. Rule 2. Toxic nationalism. Loving your country is fine, but believing your country is the only one that matters is a bit much. In fascism, you don't matter as a person. You're just a cog in the machine. It's like the world's most intense corporate internship. Company culture means invading your neighbors, and there's definitely no HR department to complain to. Rule 3. Anti-intellectualism. Fascists hate people who ask why. They prefer people who just say, "Yes, sir." Rule 4. The cult of violence. They solve problems with fists instead of courts. It's what happens when a government decides that winning is more important than justice. The loudest voice gets to be the judge, jury, and executioner. In the real world, there is no Ron Jones to come out and say it was just a prank, bro. You have to find your own lighthouse. That lighthouse is your own sense of ethics. It's fragile, But it's the only thing that stops you from becoming a monster when things get scary. Ethics gives you empathy. Empathy gives you the courage to ask, are we doing this because it's right or because we're just scared? Smash that subscribe button so the algorithm doesn't turn your brain into mush. Or don't. I'm just a drawing. I can't make you. Now, go think for yourself. It's hard work, but someone's got to do it. Peace.